performance. The 2019 coronavirus pandemic has a worldwide impact, including education, which has changed the way students study and has forced them to adopt it as emergency response. All learning activity in school and higher education are transferred to online distance learning by carrying out learning activity at home. Educational institution has to adopt to digital approach to instruction and student learning, drastically shifting from traditional in-person classroom to primarily distance learning. The purpose of the study was to collect data on how the distance learning impact on student performance. As traditional learning methods are becoming less effective at involving students in learning process, there is a need to investigate alternative teaching strategy and ideas that positively influence virtual education. Therefore, the aim of the study is to identify the effect of online distance learning towards student performance and to establish the relationship between these variables. Research objectives of the study are to determine the relationship between confidence in skill and student performance, to determine the relationship between general belief and student performance, and to determine the relationship between desire for interaction with others and student performance. Research questions for this study are: what is the relationship between confidence in prerequisite skill and student performance? What is the relationship between general belief and student performance? And what is the relationship between desire for interaction with others and student performance?
Academic performance or achievement is determined by continuous assessment or cumulative grade point average or CGPA and indicates how well a student, instructor or institution has met their short or long-term educational goals. The basic component of distance learning, or also known as e-learning, are the physical separation of teachers and students during instruction and the use of a variety of technologies to enhance student-teacher and student-student communication. Many students who are used to taking classes in person have to shift because of the COVID-19 pandemic and adapt to virtual or online learning. These factors influencing student performance through several online learning outcomes during the COVID-19 pandemic. This aspect of online learning outcomes influence student success. First is skills. Communication, listening, organization, design, and programming are just a few examples of skills. Individual competences and personal skills now hold a position of utmost significance among academics from various fields. Second is beliefs. A person's subjective assessment of a relationship between learning and values or characteristics are referred to as learning beliefs. Students' aim and belief systems can have a significant impact on how well they learn. There is self-direction. Self-direction learning, also known as independent learning, refers to a person's capacity to take the initiative to recognize their own learning needs, to set learning goals with or without assistance from a third party. Lastly, interaction. An interactive exchange of informative between participants in a learning environment who alter their actions, behavior, and reaction in response to those of their interaction partners. Next is research hypothesis. First, there is a significant relationship between confidence in prerequisite skills and general beliefs about students' performance. Second, the confidence in prerequisite skills affect the desire for interactions with others. Third, the desire for interaction with others affect general beliefs about students' performance. This model comprises of independent variables, skill, beliefs, and interaction, and dependent variables, student performance.
The purpose of the study is to identify the effect distance learning towards students' performances among the students of Department of Entrepreneurship and Marketing Studies. This chapter discusses and explains the procedures related to the methodology as how the research was executed. In this chapter, we will analyze and include our study's research design, research participants, and research instruments. This study uses a quantitative research approach to gather numerical data through questionnaires. The questionnaire design is based on the previous study and is used to evaluate 4 independent variables: belief, skills, self-directions, and interactions. The data is analyzed using SPSS software to identify trends, averages, correlations, and generate findings to larger populations. The questionnaires consist of closed-ended and open-ended questions, which are designed based on research questions and objective. This study's population is concentrated on 44 students in Semester 5 of Department Entrepreneurship and Marketing Studies in UiTM, Puncak Alam. The total of 44 respondents taking part on this research that experiences the sudden shift to online learning after closure of campus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The questionnaire consists of 25 questions addressed to students that consist of 3 sections labeled as Section A, Section B, and Section C. Section A, there were 6 questions asked about their demographic backgrounds. Section B is about questions for the students' performances that consist of their CGPA. And Section C, for this section, questions regarding the variables, both independent and dependent, were asked. The questions were adapted from a study on the effects of online distance learning towards students' performances. Questions regarding each variables were divided into subheadings under the same section. The total of the variables were 4, which is skills, beliefs, self-directions, and interactions. And for the variable skills, 8 questions, variable beliefs consist of 8 questions, self-direction 4 questions, and interactions were 5 questions. The questions for Section B were measured by using the 5 points Likert scale, which are 1, strongly disagree, 2, disagree, 3, neutral, 4, agree, and 5, strongly agree.
For this study, 78 set of the questionnaire has been distributed to students from the Department of Entrepreneurship and Marketing Studies. However, only 44 sets were collected and answered completely. Therefore, response rate for the study was 56%. Out of 44 respondents, there were 13 males and 31 females who have participated in the study. The age of respondents who have answered the questionnaire are ranged from 18 to 30 years old. 12 responded between 18 to 21. 31 respondents are between 22 to 25 years old. 1 respondent are between 26 to 29 years old. There are 2 groups of class. For Class A, there is 17 respondents and 27 respondents from Class B. For this research study, there are no missing data. Hence, we are confident that the results of the analysis are based on representative sample of the population and that the conclusions are not biased due to missing data.
The box plot shows there are 2 outliers since there are tiny dots located at the minimum value. The whisker shows it is closer to the top of the box. Hence, the distribution is negatively skewed. Based on the finding of the outliers detection, we decide there is a sufficient evidence to support the exclusion of this data point and drop them accordingly. Based on the table, it presents the result of the normality test for each item in each variable. The values for skewness and kurtosis for each individual item range between plus minus 3. As consequence of this, the data are considered to be normal. A reliability test such as internal consistency has been done in this study. This type of test uses a Cronbach alpha value to determine the reliability of each variable. According to research from non-daily, coefficient alpha which above than 0.7 is considered as acceptable. The overall items were found to be reliable as the value exceeds the standard acceptable value of 0.7. 20 items which alpha equal to 0.800. Therefore, it shows that the instrument used were reliable. This table shows the total mean score and standard deviation for each variable. The highest total mean score is interaction, followed by student performance, skill, and the belief. This is a moderate positive significance relationship exists between skills and student performance. Result of the correlation indicates that higher skills are associated with higher student performance. Next, there is a moderate positive significance relationship exists between beliefs and student performance. Result of declaration indicates that higher beliefs are associated with higher student performance. Lastly, there is a low positive and not significant relationship exists between interaction and student performance. Result of declaration indicates that higher interaction are associated with higher student performance.
The table shows all the independent variables, skills, beliefs, and interactions together explained 40.9% of the variance R squared equals to 0.640 in interpersonal and conflict, which is highly significant, and the model is fit as the F statistics 8.768 and the p-value is 0.000 and is less than critical values. Hence, the regression model is significant. It means that there is relationship between independent variables and dependent variables. Based on the table, the largest beta coefficient is beliefs, beta 0.435, p-value equals to 0.014. The p-value is less than 0.05. This concludes that this variable beliefs makes the strongest unique contribution to explaining the dependent variable, where the variance explained by all of the variables in the model is controlled for. For this is followed by skills, beta 0.305, where the p-value is 0.125, where the p-value is more than 0.05, and interactions that both made less of the unique contribution towards students' performance, as the value of beta is 0.53, where the p-value equals to 0.771, where the p-value is more than 0.05, respectively.
For the research question 1, the hypothesis that there is a significant relationship between the skills and the student performance has been supported by the result of the correlation test, which shows a moderate positive significant relationship. The p-value was less than 0.01, indicating that the correlation is statistically significant. However, the coefficient test showed that there is a weak contribution between the two variables, indicating that the correlation is not strong. For the research question 2, the study supports the hypothesis that there is a significant relationship between the student belief and their performance, as shown by the moderate positive correlation found in the correlation test, which is the R is 0.604, and the statistically significant the p-value, which is p equal to 0.000. Additionally, the strongest contribution between the belief and the student performance was found to be with student performance. For the research question 3, the hypothesis suggests that there is a significant relationship between the intervention and the student performance. The results of the correlation test found that a low positive relationship between the two variables with a statistically significant p-value of less than 0.01. However, the correlation coefficient is relatively low, indicating a weak relationship between the two variables. The coefficient test result also found a less contribution between the interaction and the student performance, suggesting that the interaction does not have a significant relationship with the student performance. Therefore, the hypothesis 3 is rejected. To conclude, this study is conducted on students from the Department of Entrepreneurship and Marketing Studies in UiTM Puncak Alam, Selangor. 78 questionnaires were distributed, 44 were complete and written with a 56% survey response rate. The study found that the data is normally distributed and has a high level of reliability. The research objective of determining the relationship between independent and dependent variables were achieved. The result shows that skills, belief, and interaction have a medium to small relationship with student performance. Only hypothesis 2 was accepted in this research and the objective of the research were accomplished. There are 3 recommendations for this study. The first recommendation is to improve the design and the explanation of the questionnaire to minimize the confusion and the bias among the respondents. Secondly, students are recommended to share the reflection on their learning to improve the skill and the understanding. The third recommendation is to expand the scope of the respondent by grouping them by faculty to get a more comprehensive understanding of the effect on online learning on student performance. The recommendation for future research on the effects on online learning on student performance is to conduct a long-term study. This will allow the researcher to track the changes in student performance over time and identify the patterns and the trends as well as challenges and the opportunities of the online learning. Additionally, investigating the effect on the online learning on soft skills such as communication, collaboration, and the problem-solving skills is important as they are critical for success in both academic and professional setting. Lastly, it recommended to investigate the effects on online learning on students' mental health, sense of belonging, and engagement to understand the impact on well-being and identify the strategies to support the students.